Good day, everybody. Welcome to a Storyteller's Night, and I'm joined here today, as always, by my co-host Nathan.
Hello.
And how have you been, mate, recently? How have you been?
Not bad. Lots of stuff in work, like busy in work, because we've got like a lot of testing being done and that sort of thing. And I had a mad rush the other day to come up with a proposal for the council for some IT equipment. Hopefully to get some IT equipment which we need. So that was kind of a mad rush to get a couple of page proposal, and then you have to kind of match it all up to the council's like guidelines and everything else. And it's just like wordy nonsense and everything else. So I've got that and normal work stuff and playing Doom, which is quite interesting. Quite enjoying that.
Nice, bro.
That's good fun. The channel seems to be going a bit mental at the moment. I'm getting loads of subs, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's going somewhere at the moment, which I don't mind. How's yours been?
Well, you know that I've recently been ill the past, as of 2-3 weeks. I've been constantly working with my college work or with my dad getting money for the summer. With me being ill the past 2 weeks, I generally think it's because I've been overworking myself. I have not stopped moving. I've been waking up at 6 a.m. every morning, and I've been going to bed around 11 o'clock midnight every night, and wake up doing the same stuff all over again the same day. Well, next day. But as of the past week, I have slowly been managing what I do. And with that, like I said to you earlier on before the podcast started, I've got at least 3 to 4 hours of college work to do tonight. And then it's back to recording and getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
I am expecting something at the end of next week to happen, so I will keep you notified on that.
Okay.
By what I mean by that is that I might be gone for about 5 to 6 days because there's a family situation and families coming down and whatnot. So that could be something to be for you to be warned about later on this week.
That's right. We can always pre-record, can't we, and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that. So no problem.
Anyways, let's get right into it. I've decided to go back into the past personally. As of next month, it will be my 5 years in Bristol with my stepmom, little brother, and whatnot. And it just got me thinking, the moment COVID started, we are going to talk about this episode, what COVID was like for us and where we came from then to now.
Okay. So have you got a bird or something? Have you got a bird or something in the background?
Yeah, my window is open. It's absolutely
I kept hearing,
boiling.
Tweeting or something. I'm like, is there something wrong with your mic? It's like, what happened? I wasn't quite sure if it was an actual bird or if your mic was like making weird noises.
No, I'm actually staring at this bird 4 houses down as we're talking now.
Oh, I can hear it. Wow, it must be loud. It's very strange.
But yeah, well, this episode we're going to talk about COVID and how much we've changed since we were acquainted to becoming, I would say, you're one of my better, closer mates of us recency.
Yeah, it's quite an odd time, COVID, isn't it?
So let's start off with a person we have in common. So we'll go to you and then we'll go me. What is Gary to you, or who is Gary to you at that point in time, at the beginning of COVID?
Barely knew him, to be honest. I think it was just before, like literally just before COVID started chatting to him. It was the Christmas just before. I believe, because we had a mutual friend, Christy, because obviously I'd been doing YouTube for a little bit by then, and I was on a couple of different forums and stuff like that. And there were a few different people that wanted to get together and get like a little YouTube group together to do like Minecraft and a few other things. And that's when I met Christy and Lucy, if you remember Lucy.
I do.
I've known her for a long time. So we were all part of the group. And the other people never actually bothered. They were very mouthy and annoying, but they never actually showed up for anything. So just three of us started doing bits and pieces and chatting and that sort of thing. And I was playing like GTA and so on. And she introduced me then to Gaz, just randomly. He was just on there and we're chatting. And I think he was having a bit of a bad time. I think a few things had happened in his life and he was at a really, really low point. And we ended up chatting like until about 5 o'clock in the morning, I think. Just chatting, just like helping him and that sort of thing. And that's kind of what I got to know from him. Then he's kind of latched on ever since. So, it's just one of those weird ones. He was going through like a really, really rough patch. And he just needed someone to kind of listen to him, I guess. And that's kind of where it all came from. And I played Minecraft a few times with him and obviously had the whole thing of bricking him up in buildings when he'd fall asleep and just build something around him, push a villager in and just build the rest of the thing around him. So when he wakes up, all he can hear is with no visuals at all because it would be completely pitch black. So yeah, bits and pieces like that. And obviously then eventually he introduced me to you as well. That was a little bit into COVID. Because at the beginning of COVID...
that was roughly 6 months to a year into the first lockdown.
Yeah, because
I remember.
Because at the time I was working for... I was living and working in Cardiff for a company called Porcelain Loza. And I was an assistant manager and we sold like bathrooms, kitchens, tiles and all that sort of thing. So the first lockdown happened. I'd actually just come back from Poland, so I had a girlfriend over there. That's an even longer story how that came about. But I just come back from Poland. In fact, I went to Amsterdam with my family. It was Jack's first flight. So I went out to there on holiday. Then I came back. The very next day, I went out to Poland. So as you imagine, I was at different airports and bus stops and everything else. And when I came back then into the country, I just felt really, really ill. And I ended up not going back to work when I should have because I was just so absolutely ill. I couldn't get out of bed. And I just felt absolutely drained and felt awful. Aching limbs, like all my limbs are aching. I had an awful cough. I was having trouble breathing. I just didn't get out of bed for like 7 days. And I did call the COVID line because this was in the March 2020. And well, beginning of March, because it was end of February, I went over to Poland and stuff. So it was like the beginning of March, I believe it was. And so it started kind of talk about COVID and coming from China. And I called them up, seeing if I get a test. They said, oh, no, you've not been anywhere near China, so you don't have to be tested. Which I think was a little bit short-sighted of them, to be honest, because I'd just been at like several different airports in the UK and Amsterdam and Poland. So there would have been people from China and all over the world I would have interacted with. I was on a megabus as well and trains and everything else. So I was exposed to a lot of different people, but they just weren't interested at all. And I had my week in bed and I got better and went to work. And they're like, oh, they think I was making it up to extend my holiday. And then within 2 days, it all hit off even more. And they're like, oh, should you be back in work? It's like, well, it's tough. I'm here now. Yeah. So I missed out on any of the COVID payments or anything else. And they had no sick pay. So I was kind of screwed for a bit. And then
I remember you told... Yeah, I remember this because shortly after Gary introduced us, I remember... you were working for this company and you were actively spending your time whilst gaming going through job applications and trying to get a new job. And I think it was like a tech company you went to next with computers.
No, not quite. So was it really randomly, because I was only on like furlough from work for a very short time because someone in their great wisdom, obviously somebody was paying somebody some money. We opened up shop much earlier than pretty much everywhere else. So I think everything closed like the end of March, wasn't it? We went into lockdown.
It was.
Well,
March.
by May, I was back in work. In the shop, basically. And because I was assistant manager, I was back in there a week before the rest of the staff. Because I had to set the place up. I had to put all the stickers on the floor, get the hand sanitization stations, rearrange everything. And I had to do all that because I was assistant manager, which sucked. So, I mean, I didn't have a lot of time off for COVID. I was in work. But like I said, we sold like, bathrooms, kitchens and so on. And somebody had decided that they were an essential business because we sold toilets. Bearing in mind the fact that all of the stuff we sold was made and shipped out from Spain. And if you ordered something, it would take you at least like several months to like 6 months to get stuff. So
Yeah.
how is that essential business?
It's not.
And
It's
you know,
literally just a money grab because they saw the money plummeting because of not being in work.
but we couldn't at the beginning. We couldn't even have anybody in unless they were a business. So it's just like people weren't supposed to travel. So why are we open if people can't travel to it? It was mind numbing. But I always kept my eye on different job sites, and I get a lot of emails. And I heard about the track and trace position. So it's basically being on the phone lines, talking to people who have had COVID or do currently have COVID, finding out where they've been, who they've interacted with, so you can set up a kind of trail of who else might then be infected, to tell them to kind of stay at home and watch their symptoms, get tested and all that to try and stop, to basically track and trace where it's spreading to try and stem the spreading a bit. So I saw that advertised and it was pretty good money. There were two different lines. There was like the basic line for just kind of like anybody without much experience, which was paying about £10 an hour. But I went for the better one, which was £15 an hour. It's like, yeah, I want that one. So I called them up, and luckily I spoke to this company. It was called Blue Arrow. They're a temp agency, and I knew people that work there because previously I'd worked in like hotel management, and we used to use them a lot for like temp staff. So I called them up, asked them about it, and they basically offered me the job there and then. The only trouble was they wanted me for a training course in 2 weeks. And of course I already had a job, didn't I? So it was like, most jobs are sort of like 4-week notice period, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was like, shoot, I don't know if I can do it. So I contacted HR just to find out what my notice period was. And they said it was 2 weeks. So I was like, thank you very much. I called them back and said, right, I'll take that. What's my start date? And I handed in my notice, which they were quite shocked and not happy about because I was doing most of the work there. It was one of those things because I started there just selling stuff. And because I'm good at like graphs and statistics and kind of lots of different things, I started taking on more and more of the assistant manager job, which I didn't want. Somebody else came in, I didn't want the job. Somebody else came in, assistant manager was shit, they got rid of, and then they offered it to me again. I'm like, well, I'm doing the job anyway, I may as well take it. But it ended up that I do all the management stuff so the manager could sell stuff and get all the commission. And I'd end up having to justify why I'm not making much commission because I'm not selling anything because I'm doing all the management stuff like the hell. And when I mentioned that, they're like, well, you're assistant manager, tough, it's your job. Like, well, that's really helpful, isn't it? And yet the manager could just swan around not doing anything and fob all the work off onto me. So that's why I want to leave there. So yeah, so I went over to track and trace, and that was working from home on the phone lines, talking to people with COVID, finding out where they've been, who they've been around, so then I could set up phone calls for the people they've been around to let them know somebody they've been in contact with. You couldn't say who, but someone they've been around has been tested positive. You need to get yourself tested, stay away from people, blah, 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 and try and kind of keep people safe. Well, it was an interesting job, I must admit, especially working from home. They provided like a PC, well, a laptop, and a little bit of training, not very much training, like 3 days of training, and then you basically start. Well, it's 3 days of training, and then the next 2 days you're doing like all the online training courses that you have to do. All the health and safety ones.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so we had that. It was a bit weird because it was obviously all remote, so we were on Teams, which I can't stand. So all the training and everything was via Teams. And the last 2 days then, a few people on my training course are still finding things a little bit confusing. So I spent the next 2 days retraining everybody, which is bizarre because I'd only just had the training, but I actually spent the next 2 days training everybody else up again to make sure they understood what they needed to do and all. So that was interesting. Interesting one. But
you see, for me in that time period, would you say that was about 12 months when it comes to time periods?
Because it wasn't that long, COVID, the first lockdown.
Yeah, the first lockdown was about 5-6 months.
Yeah,
and then it was the second one that was the longest.
Yeah.
Because the first one was more of a, let's panic, and the second was like, it's hit the UK.
I don't think it wasn't. I'm going to have to look because I can't remember. Because the trouble is, I worked most of it. Because obviously I was then doing the track and trace job. So it meant I was working all through the second one. So let's have a
Yeah,
look.
because I know for a fact that I wasn't as busy as you because my high school kept screwing up online work and kept sending the wrong students the wrong things, the wrong teachers the wrong spreadsheets, to the
Yeah.
point where I got complaints when I went back to school, and a lot of other students got complaints from this teacher, like, why haven't you done your work? Why haven't you done your work? That we got sent the wrong stuff. I was being sent German work. I didn't do German. I was doing Welsh and English, thanks.
That's ridiculous. I'm just looking now. Right, 16th of March, the PM says now it's time for everyone to stop non-essential contact and travel. 23rd of March, first lockdown. So look, when did it finish? Right, June was the phased reopening of schools. Yeah, so 10th of May, they announced a conditional plan for lifting lockdown, so that people who cannot
So a
leave
whole month and a
return.
half.
So
Right,
yeah,
a whole month and a bit then.
yeah. So it was kind of
I swear I remember the second lockdown being longer because that's when me, you, and John
yeah. So I'm
kind of
just looking now.
swiftly moved into Destiny 2, the longer lockdown, because that's when we bought Beyond Light.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
we were still playing GTA and Red Dead at the time as well, so we were playing 3 games at once.
yeah, it did come in a little bit more, and it's quite confusing the timeline, what was going on. Yeah,
That whole time was a blur.
they were still doing lockdown restrictions in different places, and Wales took longer, so the timeline's slightly different in Wales. They went on a little bit into the summer then as well, didn't it? Yeah, and September.
And not to
It was
mention
still
that,
going into September and stuff, wasn't it?
yeah, but not to mention that North Wales did something different than South Wales, and I think that's why it felt longer, because there was vast and noticeable differences between North and South.
Mm.
My schools were out all summer and most of autumn. They were completely just closed. And then just before Christmas, they reopened, realised that was a bad idea because it's flu bound, it's cold, people are getting the sniffles
Yeah, it looks like
and
it was
the itches.
November. Yeah, 5th November, the second national lockdown. It's like the first one kind of ended sort of kind of around September. Looks like a lot of it did, where they were reducing a lot more restrictions, and they started trying to put like curfews.
Yeah, here we go. It was the infection rate that was high during the first lockdown. It was the death rate that put us into the second lockdown because the death rate skyrocketed.
Yeah, they just
it says here death rate caused second UK lockdown for nearly half a year.
It was a weird thing to be part of because, I said, I started working then doing the track and trace. It was quite an interesting job because you speak to lots and lots and lots of different people from all sorts of different backgrounds. But I was only on the phone for a short time. I was only on the phone for, I think, 2 weeks because, as I said, I did like the retraining of most people on my team. And then I started doing the job, and I started off on the late shift initially, which is an awful shift to be doing. But as I was doing that, and there wasn't that many phone calls to do, in between the calls, I was putting together a lot of like training information for people, like quick reference cards and all stuff like that. And I did a bunch of that just because I thought, oh, that'll be helpful. And I did all that and passed it on to the guy in charge of training and all that sort of thing, and did a few other bits and pieces. And then on my third day in work, I started my shift to be told that the call center manager wanted to speak to me.
Oh, I remember this.
And it was like,
I remember this now.
What does she want? Like, what's going on? I was like, this is a bit strange. For like, I've only just started here. So anyway, she called me, and we chat a bit, and she wanted to know my background. And obviously, I've got years experience, many, many, many years experience doing like call centers and IT and stuff. And she offered me a team leader job, like there on the spot. And
yeah, I remember this.
It was no extra money or anything, but it would, it was a slightly better job. I was like, yeah, sure. But I had to wait like 2 weeks for the training course to come up because they were getting a whole, I think it was like 5 other team leaders as well. So I had to wait for that course to come up to do that. So I did that. So I didn't have many phone calls. And I was like on the phone for a little bit, and then suddenly I was a team lead and I was running my own team. So it was quite interesting, and things just kind of went on from there. And because I did quite well at that, they then offered me another Doom position with no extra pay because, that's how it goes. And they wanted me to set up a new inbound call center so that people can actually call us with queries and that sort of thing. So actually, I did all the interviews with.
Was this the AI bot that you made?
Oh no, I did that after. I then did that after. So part of that I created, because we did everything on Teams, and you'd have people on the phones, and they'd all be They'd all be on Teams, but they'd have obviously phones connected to their laptops and so on. And if they had a question for a team leader, they'd have to post the questions on Teams. So the team leaders would basically sit there on Teams as these queries come through, and you can answer the queries, speak to people directly, but it would be made basically like a message board. Yeah. And somebody would tag a team leader, like, I need help with this. What do I do with this? Somebody's questioning this. I need somebody to speak to this customer or whatever else. It'd be all of that. And a lot of the time you get the same questions. So I thought, rather than having crappy websites that people need to look at, I created a virtual bot. It wasn't quite AI, but it was close, that would have all the questions. So basically, you go into a Teams chat with the bot and ask it a question. It would look for certain responses. So I had to set it up with the questions I expected people to ask. The more common ones, like, what's the telephone number for this? What information do I need to get for this? What's the current legislation for this, and all the information that somebody would need. And if they ask any of those trigger questions, it would then throw up a website or give them a telephone number or give them the latest information or anything like that, so they wouldn't have to keep asking team leaders. They could go away and get the information themselves. So I did that as well. And so I set up then an inbound call center, the only inbound call center in Wales, and we took all the inbound calls for COVID in Wales. So it was quite an interesting job, and my team did absolutely amazing. I had a lot of meetings with Welsh government and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that was quite mad. And as that, it went on for quite a while. So I was still working from home, doing all that. Occasionally, then near the end of it, going into the office, but it was mainly working from home. And then there was another project coming up, a more NHS call center. They were looking at me actually taking over and running with as well. And then everything changed, but we'll get to that in a little bit because obviously lots of other stuff changed then. But yeah, we played a lot of Red Dead. One of the biggest things I remember from COVID was me and Gaz playing No Man's Sky, because I'd already started playing it previously, and on and off, because it was still quite a new game at the time. And as we know, No Man's Sky was kind of a bit iffy when it first started. But we both decided to try it in VR, which was quite an experience. We started early in the morning and we just played it. It's really good fun in VR. Other than the whole having to teleport to walk was awful, but getting to jump in a ship and grabbing the actual controls and flying off. And if you want to leave, you had to open the cockpit and grab the handle and all that. It was amazing. We played it for hours and hours and hours. It was like, oh, we should probably have some food. I took the VR helmet off and it's pitch black in the room because we've been playing so long. I think we played over 8 hours in one session without a break. And it was pitch black. It's suddenly nighttime. It's like, yeah, I cannot see anything in this room. It's because I've had the VR helmet on for 8 hours. Absolutely insane, but it was good fun.
For you and Gary, it was No Man's Sky. For me, it was Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah.
I played that like a religion. I did more or less the same that you did with No Man's Sky. Start early in the day and then realize as the moment you take your eyes away, it's like, Jesus Christ, it's dark.
Yeah.
I was lucky because my nan and granddad at that point, before I moved to my other nan and granddads, they understood. They understood why I liked gaming and why I like online gaming. It's my life now. It's my generation's way of being brought up, online communication. Yeah. And they knew for a fact they couldn't take that away, because during COVID I ain't got no one locally.
Yeah, exactly. It was a hard time for a lot of people. It's like I've been training my whole life to be sat in a room by myself talking to people online. It's what I've always done, kind of thing. Since I had computers, I've always sat. I had a brother and all that sort of thing. But beside that, I've always played video games. So it's like having unlimited time to sit around the house and do nothing but play video games. It's like a dream come true for some of us. It's like, the nerds will inherit the earth because we're the ones that know how to deal with isolation and it doesn't affect us and we're not going to like lose our marbles over it. So many people, it's like, oh, it's Sam Smith. Oh my God, I hate that. Oh, that waste of bloody human skin. He was like, I remember because he's got an okay voice and some of his songs have been okay. I don't like him much of a person.
Can I just quickly go across?
Yeah.
Me and my mates are in agreement here, and I'm sure you'll agree with me too. And this isn't discrimination or anything, but a lot of people in my circle agree before he turned gay, he was actually a very, very, very down-to-earth human and he did good songs. Yeah. The moment he announced he was gay, everything went.
It's the clothing and stuff that he wears and doesn't wear on stage. It's just, it's not needed. But the worst thing was, during lockdown, he was sat there, was an interview with him, he was sat there crying about how he's so lonely and, he doesn't have all his friends around him and he doesn't know how he's going to cope while he's in his multi-million-pound mansion and swimming pool. And he's crying about how hard his life is. It's like, oh, poor you, Diddums. You've got no friends around you, but you do have a swimming pool and a massive house and anything you need. Like, come on, grow up. Some people there are struggling because they've not got the wages they should have. They've lost their job, and he's there crying into a swimming pool. Wanker. Oh, I just hate him just for that as much as anything else. It just shows, these people that then become famous and rich just lose all plot with reality. It's like, I got fed after midnight. I'm now a gremlin. Good old Katy Perry.
Oh my God.
I can't help it. Those memes are amazing. But that's another person that's kind of lost grip, isn't it? Just because she went up in a spaceship, she's now an astronaut. No, an astronaut is about the training and stuff. It's not just because you went in space. And it's just...
It's a proper slap in the face to a proper astronauts, that's
why
situation.
Everyone's now completely taken the mickey out of it. And it's like, anything you think of, like I said, that one I just said, she got fed after midnight and now she thinks she's a gremlin, or, she played basketball once, now she's like Michael Jordan. And it's just, so many of those are just so hilariously funny and I just can't help it. It's just great. I've nothing against her. I've thought quite liked the songs and everything else, but yeah, that's somebody that's kind of lost the plot with reality, and that a lot of famous people do, and a lot of rich people do, and it's quite... it's frustrating because there's no need to be like that. You don't have to change that much and forget where you came from. Guess there's loads.
Bear with me, mate.
Yep. I just think it's sad that they lose the plot completely like that and lose all sense of reality and how normal people live. Politicians are the worst for that, aren't they? They haven't got a clue what real life is, yet they try and tell us how to live. Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, the whole COVID-19 situation for like a year and a half I say year and a half, it was 2 years. It just feels like a fever dream. No pun intended. Yeah. It just 2 years went by, hot summer, great gaming moments, great moments in general. But it almost seems like celebrities kicked up more of a fuss than the actual average person. I remember this whole situation with Ollie Murs and this prawn cocktail Pringles can. If you don't know, don't bother searching it up. No. And the whole like there was this American scuba diver, and Mr. Beast was meant to get into this boat. I don't remember what it's called, this submarine that blew up.
Oh yeah, Titan.
Yeah, they were meant to get in that, weren't they? And they, because their calendars conflicted and what they did conflicted with the set off date, they didn't. That happened right after COVID. The thing is,
COVID ended sooner than anyone expected because of the war in Ukraine.
Yes.
That made a big difference. A huge difference, because everyone's focus changed from, oh, look at us trying to protect people, suddenly, oh my God, look what's happening over there. I know, and me being with Cardiff Council doing track and trace, it was a big part of that, because I then got asked to help set up the Ukraine helpline and helping the Ukrainians come over and that sort of thing. So it was kind of a massive shift in focus, changing from talking to people about symptoms and where they've been and all that sort of thing, to suddenly, the agents I was team leader for were talking to people in a war zone, bombs going off in the background, and it's just like, it's absolutely crazy. There's so many things you hear about it that it seems unbelievable that in this day and age a country can invade another country without a problem. It's like, why is that allowed?
It's still going on today. It's been
it gets worse.
4 years. It's been 4 years. Yeah.
You've seen JD Vance, his announcement yesterday.
No, yeah, I did. I read on the news this morning. I couldn't believe
it. If we can't get Putin to withdraw, then it's nothing to do with us. It's Joe Biden's war. Like, the old guy that used to be president now has prostate cancer, and you're saying it's his fault. Like, grow up, man. That's just, it disgusts me.
By the way, we're getting a bit off track. We're going into politics.
Yeah, we're getting into politics
again.
We don't need to do that. It's because there's so much happening at the moment. And let's be honest, a lot of the COVID thing was politics. A lot of the things that annoy me is what the British government did. Boris Johnson was a nightmare. All the stuff, people are dying. People can't go and see their loved ones when, they're on death's door and everything else because of lockdown. And yet him and his cronies can have parties and all have wine. They've got all these politicians working there, and they're sending them to Tesco with a suitcase to fill it full of wine. Like, seriously? Like, what is that about? And everyone else is, like, struggling, and they're having their wine parties. Like, And one of the really annoying things with it, then, we've got a lockdown. We're trying to protect the country. We're stopping, planes coming in. Unless you've got lots of money you're spending and giving us, and then you can come into the country. We had so many flights come into the country that shouldn't have, because they let them in because they were friends or people that donate lots of money to them and that sort of thing. And that should never have been allowed. It's such a double standard. And that caused a lot of issues, I think. Because people from other countries, when we didn't have it too bad at first, were suddenly pouring into the country. It's like, you're just bringing in people that could be infected. You're not testing them. You're just letting them into the country because they're rich. It should never happen. COVID should never have got to the stage it was. We're an island. It's happening all over the world. We close our borders. We are an island. So unless somebody comes on a boat, swims, or flies, people couldn't get to us. Okay, not counting the Eurotunnel. But people wouldn't be able to get into the country. So why did
you say that? You say that, but UK has such a global influence. So does Australia, but Australia and New Zealand close their borders.
Exactly. Other places.
Why couldn't the UK do it?
Yeah, exactly. Because they didn't want to, because they were getting paid money. Boris and his cronies were getting money back off these rich people coming in. That's why. And that's what really, really, really annoys me. That is, people, again, suffer. Normal, everyday, average people suffer because of corrupt people in power. And it's just, it should never have happened. None of this stuff should have. We should have had lockdown. It should have been over. But they handled that badly as well. The lockdown, it was lockdown on this, but not on that. And then the Welsh government were just as bad. I remember when they were announcing a lockdown over Christmas, weren't they? At the one point. It's quite a while after the first one. So they said they were going to lock down at Christmas. They told everyone, right, we're going to put a lockdown in place on the 28th of December. It's like, okay, so it gives people a chance to get Christmas out of the way. And then the last minute they said, no, we're going to lock down on Christmas Eve, which is like 2 days away. Well, what's the thing that everyone's going to do then? Everyone's going to go shopping at exactly the same time. Oh, so that's a really good idea. To stop people from spreading disease, you're going to force everybody to go to the shops over a span of like a day and a half. How does that make sense? It's just a bizarre thing to do.
Yeah, I remember this quite vaguely now. It was an absolute nightmare at where I lived.
Exactly, there's not many shops, but a lot of the shops were restricted. This I don't get as well. They restricted certain aisles in like Tesco's and Asda's to just bare essentials. But there were some of the essentials you could get that weren't essentials, and yet they closed off like all the toy aisles and the aisles with cards. It's like you couldn't buy any presents for kids, but then you could buy like cigarettes or something. It's like it just made no common sense at all. Why is it okay to buy this thing that isn't essential, but you couldn't buy this thing for like your kids? It was bizarre. The choices they made were stupid. For me, what the biggest thing happened because of COVID, something that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time.
Go on.
Deliveries. I'm not talking just Amazon and so on. I mean food deliveries. So Just Eat, Grubhub, whatever else you've got, and DoorDash and Uber Eats, they are really good, but also incredibly bad as well. But that's what really changed, I think, the world more than anything else, is that. Because previously, you could only get delivery from a few places, and it'd be some guy on a bike or in a car from some delivery, unless it was something big like Domino's. But the little places, your little kebab shop down the road might, and it'd be just somebody in their car just delivering it, and they wouldn't tend to do much of it.
Yeah.
But then you suddenly had an app that you could get delivery from anywhere you wanted to fairly quickly. And that, I think, changed things. I think it's probably increased obesity levels in this country because now it's too easy to order food. You sat there, you're like, I can't be bothered to cook tonight. What do I do? So it's usually you can order a pizza. Now you can order from anywhere you want to.
See, my girlfriend, we were talking about this, that it's so that all these food apps are absolutely riddled with different food companies. Uber Eats, God knows, you've got stuff I've never even heard of before.
Yeah.
That's on that damn thing. And we've both come to agreement that if we do go further down the line, we're not buying anything off these apps every week. We are going to try and slim down to once a week, or once a month even, because the amount of stuff that I've seen on there, I agree. Before COVID, you had the Domino's, McDonald's, KFC, you had the big branches.
No, but a lot of McDonald's and KFC didn't offer delivery back then.
Yeah, but some of them did. But then again,
it was mainly pizza deliveries, and the little kebab shops and some fish and chip shops. That was generally all you had. There wasn't a lot else.
Yeah, but then again, like I'm saying, you had the occasional big branch or big company on there, and COVID hit. Everyone saw that opportunity, and it's almost like all these food apps and delivery apps are still in the era of COVID-19.
Yeah,
they thrive from it.
Yeah, which frustrates me because now you go to one of those places, like go to McDonald's or KFC, and there's just queues of all these delivery drivers. The trouble is, none of them can park. So they park in the way all the time because they think they're important. They'll park on the pavement. They'll park on the yellow lines. They'll park right outside the front door of the place they're getting food from, regardless of what anybody else is doing. They just don't care. And it's something that really winds me up because they really don't care. There's like, well, I'm doing a job. It's like, I don't care. Get in queue. It's just, it really is frustrating. But if you actually look at the prices are extortionate, really, for delivery because you're paying extra anyway, because if you look, most of the items you buy have a premium added to them because you're having delivery, plus you've got the delivery fee that is added on, plus there's sometimes like a handling fee added on, and then they expect a tip as well. It's like, I'm already paying for delivery and all you're doing is just bringing it to me, and half the time they can't even bother to bring it down my steps. So it's like, I'm sorry, but you're calling me because you can't find the house. And I got two big wheelie bins outside my gate that has the number of the house, and there's stairs going down, but they can't be bothered to come down, so they'll call me and I have to walk all the way up and find them. I'm sorry, you're not getting a tip if I've had to go and collect it from you. You're supposed to bring it to my front door. Don't be so lazy.
I don't give a tips unless I get
unless it's like good service.
No, yeah, pretty much. If my food is running late and I get a big ass apology from the guy that's handling my food, I'll give him a tip. I'll give him a rating. He's been kind enough to explain what's happened, what's going on, and he's very sorry about it.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, here you go, number please, off I go, like, all right, fair enough, cheers.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's just like, well, I'm already paying enough for it. You're already getting paid for it, like, unless you do something outstanding. There's something about the UK that differs to, like, America, because here we don't tip because we have to tip. We tip when there's a reason to tip.
Yeah, in America,
you have to tip. Because it's, once again, it's the corrupt system. You have to tip because they don't get paid enough wages and they rely on tips. Well, I'm sorry, let's get out of that and make the companies pay them a decent wage, so then the tips are extra money, not the tips they rely on to pay their bills. I think that's disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
You always have to tip. It's like, yeah, but that's not the point. I'm going out to eat and I'm paying. That's paying that person's wage already. Why am I supplementing their wage? unless they've been outstanding, an amazing person, and I think you've done exactly what I expect. The trouble is, I've worked in the service industry. I've done silver service. I've waited tables, and I've worked in hotels and bars and everything else. So I know what I expect of me, what I would expect I'd be doing in that job. And if somebody doesn't meet that expectation, then I don't think they're doing the job. So I'm not going to tip them. They need to meet what I would be doing if I was them.
You see, when COVID-19 started, the only tips that I would give are waiters or waitresses inside of Weatherspoons, or, well, it is mainly Weatherspoons that I can think of, but any other big, nice restaurant, that's when you give a tip. During COVID, tips were either gaming tips that show up on your screen, or you're tipping your Deliveroo driver like £5. Because now they've done it by percentage. But back during COVID, I remember it was like you had £1 tip, £3 tip, £5 tip, £10 tip.
Yeah.
You literally had nothing in between. And if you didn't give a tip, it would affect their rating. But now it's more linear and it's straight down a straight line. It's like you can either tip or not. Here you go. We've taken enough from you. It's your choice what you do now. But that's why I think COVID was a good thing as well. Not just for the whole Uber Eats and Deliveroo, because they're big companies now, and I'm happy for them because they took advantage of a national.
It was a need.
Worldwide.
It was a need, and they did help a lot, and it was good because you couldn't leave the house half the time. So, and a lot of people didn't want to leave the house. And the fact you could then get stuff delivered, and they could do the shopping for you as well. You send them out to the local Spar or Asda and stuff, and they could actually do the shopping as well. So it was an amazing thing to have at a time when people, had to shield and everything else. So it was in many ways a good thing, and it did open the doors to a lot of food that people wouldn't necessarily normally have, because you could then deliver it for home. So you try more. I think
on a different topic, the whole good thing or bad thing about COVID, there's a lot of pros and cons to the damn thing. One major con, in my opinion, it's going to be it was going to affect the new generations anyway. But because of COVID, there was a lot more time to be stuck in front of the computer.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I was a victim of that, because I was already spending time in front of the computer. We already know what you did, but I always spent time in front of the computer for my spare time, and I actually managed it over COVID. The whole 2 years of it, I managed my time, because I went about 4 days with no sleep, and I just kept playing games and games and games. I completed 3 different games in the space of 4 days because I just played it. Yeah. And played it. That's when I realized I need to manage my time. I did. I got a pat on the back from my granddad at the time, and well, he still is here. So my granddad, it was my nan at the time that gave me the pat on the back as well. But for people that are a little bit younger than me, because at 20, I'm going to say people who are now hitting 17, 18 years old, they're the biggest losers of COVID, because they were already...
More than anything else, the amount of school that was lost. But it's like something, because obviously I didn't see Jack a lot over COVID. My car actually broke down just as COVID started, so I didn't have any transport or anything else for quite a while. So it was kind of a bit frustrating as well, because I didn't get to see
this bit. Well, I remember this bit in COVID.
It was the one good thing about being able to play video games and all, but something that we did do was watch stuff with the Netflix party system that they had. So you could go to the Netflix on the website and invite somebody else to watch with you, and you'd have a text box so you could chat about stuff while you were watching the TV show. So we actually watched Lucifer, which I found out he actually introduced me to it, and it's one of my favorite shows now. I love Lucifer, and we watched a lot of Lucifer together online, and like we could chat to each other and so on while we were watching it. And it was absolutely something else good that came, was that watching stuff together online when you can't be like next to somebody, be able to watch remotely with someone, still be able to chat without it getting in the way and just like text on the side. That was an amazing thing, and that was really, really helpful. And that's something I think that was just it's absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic. That.
Yeah, that is sweet, because I remember you telling me about it, and you made sure that you did it because you told me that you really, really, really are gutted that your car wasn't working. Because at the time, I think it was after the first restrictions, your car your car, like you said, gave up before just as
Yeah, because
COVID
it was
started.
actually this is the weird bit, because I said went on holiday to Amsterdam, we flew there, so I drove up to my parents' house and we went in their car to like the airport and so on. So we did all that kind of thing. And then when I got back, my car wouldn't start, and I needed to take Jack home to his house, get back to Cardiff, then because he obviously doesn't live near Cardiff. Then I had to get back to Cardiff, pack on my stuff, get on a bus to go to Poland. So I had to borrow my mum's car so I could get Jack home, then get home, leave the keys so that because I had the spare keys, so she had to then go to Cardiff to collect her car from my house. And then obviously by the time I came back, COVID then hit, so I couldn't even go and get my car. So my car broke down and I couldn't go and get my car because COVID had hit. So we were in lockdown, so I had no transport as well. Luckily, I lived close enough to work that I could walk or cycle, which I ended up doing a lot of. But it's just like, how ridiculous is that? Absolutely insane.
Just one domino after another.
Yeah. It was just like, oh my God. And I hadn't had the car all that long as well. It's so frustrating.
Well, as we're coming to the final 10 minutes of this episode, let's reflect to us now compared to
when I was going
COVID
to ask
started.
you a question first on
Go
the
on.
back of that.
Yeah,
is there anything you personally regret that you did or didn't do over COVID during lockdown?
What I personally regret, what I didn't do, is start YouTube then.
Yeah.
I might not have had the equipment, but I could have made it work.
Yeah.
You told me that a long time ago, no matter what equipment you got, even if it's your phone, it will work. You just have to do it correctly and you have to have patience. I really should have just hopped on the train then, because that's when Tommy in it, I showed speed. Tyson out, that's when they blew up.
This is the frustrating thing for me, is I was doing YouTube, but I didn't do much YouTube during COVID, and I should have jumped on it big time. But obviously, I was back in work really early and everything else, so I didn't have the chance to, and I did relax for a little bit playing video games like you and Gaz and everything else. So I should have really jumped into YouTube big time, and I could have made something more of it at that point when it was getting big, because I had it set up and I was already doing it. I didn't have great equipment at the time, and I had a fairly basic computer. Look back at some of my early videos, and they're not great quality because I didn't have much there. I had fairly basic stuff, but I could have done it, and I could have done a lot to that. And who knows? It may have blown up, and I may have been a famous YouTuber by now and been making millions a year. But I didn't take the opportunity, and it was there. And then by the time I thought, I should probably do this, I was back in work, and I didn't have any more time off over COVID at all. So it's like I only had a short couple of weeks where I could have tried to do something, but then it was kind of taken away from me really quickly, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, because I remember a fair few times I was like, Nathan, are you going to record us playing GTA Red Dead or Destiny? Hell, even the new Resident Evil 2 that you bought?
That was the trouble. I couldn't do any of the multiplayer stuff. We tried it. If you remember when we first tried doing Destiny 2, when Beyond Light came out, I couldn't do it properly because I didn't have a splitter for the audio. I couldn't record the chat audio and the game audio and my voice, and I couldn't get it all working together because I didn't have the right equipment for it. So we were playing mainly online games, so I couldn't actually record the online games. The only way I found I could do it was using the microphone from the webcam for the PS4, and it was crap quality, and it didn't always work. It's like, that's the only way I could do both, and it's just like, this is no good. And I didn't know quite what I needed at the time, and I didn't have a lot of money because it was COVID, so I was on much less money than I should have been on, so I couldn't afford to go out and get extra equipment to be able to do the recording. So it was like I was sort of restricted by limitations of what I had. I could have possibly found a way around it by maybe using my phone to record my voice and done it separately or something, but at the time I wasn't quite sure how to do that, because as you know, when you're trying to record game audio and chat audio and your own voice, there's quite a lot there you have to kind of do to get it done properly, don't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Don't worry, I do now.
It was frustrating. It was so frustrating because I wanted to do that, but I couldn't physically do it. And then it's like I wanted to play, games with my friends while I had a chance, because we never get a chance to all get together. So it's like I enjoyed the time, whereas I could have been trying to make a business out of it. But I said I wasn't sort of on furlough for very long, so I didn't have much time to do it anyway. But it's just one of those things that would have been nice.
Yeah, because to be fair, looking back then and missing out, I'd say, for instance, us two have missed out big time. We both didn't take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah.
Compared to then to now, I'm chuffed and over the moon that I actually missed out on that opportunity, because I don't think I would be going where I am now with university and college, with where I'm going with college and where I could go with uni.
Yeah.
And I don't have any words for it, because I know for a fact if I took the full opportunity with COVID and YouTube actually did something for me, then I would possibly me and you possibly wouldn't have made the podcast. I would have possibly been picked up by a different group, and you would have been picked up by a different gaming group.
Exactly.
Or a YouTube group.
Different things. Yeah, loads of different things would happen. Like if that had happened, I may not have got the job I've currently got now, because I'm saying before, I was doing the Ukraine call center, and it was all kind of falling apart and disappearing, and they didn't need as many team leaders anymore, and I didn't really want to go and sit on the phones. I kind of didn't want to do that at all, because a lot of the other team leaders I thought were quite useless, and it was very political, friends of friends would get jobs and all that stuff, and it's just like, I don't want to deal with this crap. I don't want somebody above me that knows less than me. So I looked around for other jobs and just landed on my feet with this job in the school. It started off as building a website for the school, which was like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. I had like an online interview, because it was, still the days where everything was kind of a little bit iffy. And yeah, I did an online interview with them, with the head teacher at the time and the chair of the governors, and got on well with both of them. We had a good old chat about, what they're looking for and what I could bring to the table and the things I'd like to do for them and all that. And it was like, oh, great. Start, and I didn't hear anything for ages. Like the other job was finishing. I was like, what's happening? And they finally gave me the job. It was Easter at the time. And even before I got to the school, I made the website and everything, and then went into the school, did a few more things, and I basically kept finding more and more things they weren't doing, or things they didn't have, and statistics they didn't have, and just all sorts of bits and pieces. And I basically built myself a job, and they actually created a post for me, and now I'm there permanently, and I get all the wonderful 10 weeks off a year and really good wages, and I love the job, and I've landed on my feet with that. I can't imagine another job I could have got where I work 8 till 4 Monday to Thursday, 8 till 3:30 on a Friday, don't work weekends, don't work bank holidays, and I get 10 weeks off a year. It's like, what kind of job could you get like that? Like, seriously.
The key thing there is it's 1, a good job, 2, a very well paid job, and 3, it's a job you actually want to work.
Well, that's the big thing to me, to be honest. The biggest change I found with COVID from both the track and trace job and the Ukraine job was it felt nice making a difference to people. So even the basic thing, like, some of the calls you have, like track and trace, you might speak to some, 80-year-old lady who doesn't go out much. It's in the middle of COVID. She can't go out. She can't see her family. She managed to go shopping once a week, but being very careful, having to wear masks and everything else. So she doesn't see anyone, she doesn't talk to anyone, and you're the only person she's talked to all week. And you're just chatting about, how her day was and the stuff she was buying shopping. She goes off on a tangent, but you listen and you just, try and help them, be there for it. It's not about, quickly, call centers and so on is usually about selling stuff or doing something else. It's all quick as you can, get them off the phone, get to the next one. It wasn't like that. You could spend 2 hours on the phone with somebody getting information from them, where they've been, who they've interacted with. But some of these people, they missed that from their lives. They didn't have that connection to someone. And suddenly you were calling them and having an interest in their lives and what they're doing. And you just talk to them like a friend. And it was amazing. And 90% of people that you called were genuinely nice and understood why you were calling, that you were trying to make a difference to the community around them. And they were wonderful people. You'd have a laugh and a joke with them. and just chat to them. They tell you all the different stuff that you didn't need to know about the people they bumped into in the supermarket, and their grandchildren or their parents, or just all sorts of different things. It's like it felt really nice for people to say, "Thank you, I really appreciate the job you're doing." The same with Ukraine. Make a difference to people coming over. Trying to get them from the war into our country, into safety, and trying to get the kids in school and all that kind of stuff.
It
felt really good, making a difference.
Achievement. It's an achievement.
It's helping people, which I've always been the sort of person. I'll always try and help someone. If I see a little lady struggling across the road, I'll help across the road. Or in a supermarket, I'll help them take stuff down off the higher shelves and just carry people's bags or whatever else. I'm that kind of person. If I see somebody needs help, I'll do it. Even in a job, if I finish my job, it's the person next to me struggling, I'll help them. It's just kind of what I tend to do. So finding a job like this, because as I said before, I work in a special school. I'm currently in special measures, so we have to make a lot of changes because we are failing in certain areas. And even though I'm not directly working with the kids most of the time, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a teaching assistant. I'm data and admin. But I do sometimes interact with the kids, and I get on quite well with them. I'm always colour coordinated. So there's one kid, pretty much every day. So what colour are you wearing tomorrow? I was like, what colour do you want me to wear? And he'll go like blue, light blue or dark blue, and he'll help me choose what I'm going to wear the next day. And it's like a challenge to see if I can wear all of one colour for the next day. And it's having that interaction, but knowing that stuff I do to try and help the staff make it easier for them to do their job, it's then helping the kids, it's helping the community, and it just feels good that everything I'm doing is with the aim of helping somebody, helping a kid through school, helping a kid, get their exams. Not long ago, I managed to get a donation of some laptops and some computers from a local company that we could then give to some of the kids that don't have computers at home, so they can study from home. And that was an amazing thing. This company, they actually take donations of broken or obsolete IT equipment. They'll fix them up, clean them up, and then give them out to families and people. And I asked them if they could help us, and they did. Fair play. They gave us a couple of computers so we can actually give it out to students that didn't have them. And it's stuff like that, being able to make a difference, and seeing kids turn around, because a lot of the time the kids also often called like the naughty kids and stuff like that. They're not, a lot of them have a lot of trouble in their lives. They're in care homes. They may have had awful things happen to them throughout the years, and a lot of the time they get forgotten about or pushed aside as, they're just troublemakers. But being part of a school where we're trying to turn it around and try and get them some qualifications and get them somewhere where they need to be, so that when they leave school they have a direction, they have skills. Even we do a lot of cooking with them. One of our members of staff, Mon, she's amazing. She does all the cooking, and all these kids are getting BTEC in cooking. They may not get any other qualifications, but they're getting their BTEC cooking, and when they leave there they can cook meals. And it's just so nice seeing some that even like the really bad kids that do attack people and so on, seeing them turn around and doing something nice for one of the other kids and things like that. Or one of them, they get like points they create throughout the week that's then turned into money. And then at the end of the week they can buy something like a bottle of pop or a chocolate bar or something like that at the end of the week as a reward. This one kid, he saved up his money, he went shopping with member staff, bought like spaghetti and meat and sauce, and he wanted to take it home and cook a meal for his family. Seeing one of the troubled kids deciding that was like, that's absolutely amazing. It just makes you feel like, something is going right.
It's some amazing sort of like proud moment. Yeah. Like you're proud to see that change.
Exactly.
And the thing is, that kid is, what is it? Is it a primary school?
It's both. We're 3 to 16, so we've got a primary. I'm currently helping out the primary, but we got a secondary school as well.
Yeah, the primary schools now are probably the biggest losers to COVID.
Yeah,
yes, you can make the argument for the teenagers and young adults of these days, but it is the toddlers and kids going into teenagehood, because they were put in front of an iPad to give the parents a break.
It's not like you think there's some kids like Jack's little sister. She's only little, and during COVID, she was at the age where she would have started school. Well, she couldn't. Yeah. And, she's then grown up without having kids around her age. So it's like, how does a kid like that cope then? And they're being then put into school eventually, having to do it all online first, and then they go and put into school with all these kids they don't know. They're not used to having kids around them or being in that environment. You just feel sorry for these kids that they, the struggles they go through then day to day trying to cope with something that we all kind of take as that's normal. But for these kids, it isn't, because they didn't have that. They grew up without any of that, without being able to go to the park with their friends. You know, they were inside watching Thomas the Tank Engine and Bluey and whatever else, instead of going out and playing. It's just such a weird thing to think these kids have grown up in that way. And a lot of them are struggling to get back into the kind of, you know, the school environment and so on. And it's quite sad to see.
Either way, let's hope that nothing like COVID happens in the near future whilst we're still alive.
Well,
I want it
hopefully, we've now got things in place because it's happened. We have
We're ready.
safeguards in place for it to not happen again. You look at anything like that, you know, like New York and 9/11. That could have happened. You really think about it. It's like, how did somebody not think of doing that before? Hijacking a plane.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's a lot harder to do because now it's happened. We can now stop
It won't
again.
happen. It might never happen again.
It's dreadful that we have to have something really bad to happen
for us to act upon it. Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, but at least we have more safeguards in place. As long as we remember and follow, then that's
exactly. But then again, that's a hard thing to do for a lot of people.
Oh, it definitely is. A lot of people have a lot of resentment over things like that, and it's just, you know, you can't help what everybody does. As they say, a person can be intelligent, but people are stupid. Seems the more people you get together, the worse it gets.
Yep. Sorry to cut you short, but I do have to get going the next 5 minutes. You can find me on YouTube, The Welsh Assassin, and on Twitch, The Welsh Assassin 998. As for you, Nath?
Yep, you can find me on Twitch under Nukami, or on YouTube as Wasn't My Fault.
This is On a Storyteller's Night, and until next time, bye-bye.
See you later.